Good evening. Thank you for being here. I'd like to call to order the Granville County Board of Commissioners meeting Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. At this time, if I could have Commissioner Cozart provide us the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Please bow with me. Loving and gracious God Almighty, as we come at the beginning of another year, we want to say how much we thank you for all you did for us in 2022. God, we thank you for your provisions. We thank you for your protection. We thank you, God, for the bounty you gave us as individuals and as a county. And now as we enter this new year, we enter with great expectancy. First of all, because we know you love us. And then, God, we know that you have been so kind to forgive us in those areas that we have failed short. So we thank you for your grace and for your mercy. We pray that as we go forward, that you would hold us right in the palm of your hands. And God, have us to seek you in your direction in all our ways. We want to glorify you even through our service as county commissioners. So bless our chair, our vice chair, and all the members of the board, that we would do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with you. This is my prayer in your holy and righteous name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cozart. Just briefly before we start, I'd like to acknowledge our county manager. I hope he had a great holiday period, and I want the board and the community to know that during that holiday period, the Christmas holidays, Mr. Cummings also celebrated, for those of faith understand what I mean by that, celebrated the homegoing of his mother Miriam. And so on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, please accept our heartfelt sympathy for you and your family. And I've read some on your mom. She's an incredible lady. I know from losing my mother last year that there's a void that will never be filled, and that we, at our best, if we're fortunate, we can at least live a life in which would endure their legacy. So I just wanted to recognize you and your family and your mother at this time. Thank you very much. If we can move on now to our next item.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that unfortunately Vicki Hammy is out sick this evening, and if we could just keep her and her family in our prayers. She really wanted to be here this evening for this, but we will reschedule it.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you move that to our next meeting or the next meeting in which she can become available to attend. And thank you, Commissioner Hedman. If we now, as there be a presentation on the resolution of support for the Juvenile Prevention Council, and the purpose of this is to consider approval of the resolution supporting compression, increases for Division of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, Detention, and Youth Development Center staff. In the background is Mr. Cruz, who is here tonight and will be asked to speak in a minute, of the JCPC, Central Area Consultant with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, is present to request approval of the attached resolution supporting pay increases for juvenile justice facility staff. Understaffed or inadequately staffed juvenile detention facilities put everyone at risk. The Granville County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council supports this resolution. And for the public's awareness, our JCPC is an active group. It receives funding from the state, and it also receives some funding from the county. And so this group works on means of mitigation of juvenile crime, deterrent, and and counseling and assistance for children that have delinquency issues and/or criminal justice issues, or it could be a range of emotional trauma and so forth. Is one of the conduits that the county uses, and so we do fund that partially, but the bulk of the fund is state funding. If Mr. Cruz, if you could now come before the podium and present.
Sure. Thank you, commissioners, for giving me this opportunity. And as I mentioned earlier to Drew, plan to keep my comments brief. Let me first just start off and say that I think we're all kind of aware of the employment crisis we're facing in various sectors of employment. And it's never been more critical than in our facilities, in our detention centers and our youth development centers. If you're not familiar, our youth development centers are our most secure facilities. They house the kids that have committed some very serious offenses. Our detention centers are more of our short-term facilities, equivalent to a jail, if you will. And we have one of those facilities, the Dillon Detention Center in Butner. And we reached a critical staffing point. Basically, we're at, I know the resolution quotes you some numbers there, but it has increased since the time of that printing to about 50%. And in some facilities, it's 60%. And what our Department of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, under the umbrella of public safety, is having to do at this current moment is use juvenile court counselors who are trained to rehabilitate and work with kids in the community. They're having to pull them into these facilities to work. And so that is creating a burden in communities where they're not able to do their normal job. And actually, some of the newer ones that have been hired are being reassigned, so they're not really getting the job that they signed up to do. And so from our management, has asked us consultants to reach out to county commissioners through our JCPCs, which is what I'm involved with, and has asked you guys to come to the table to help support this effort, this statewide effort, to support pay increases for our facility staff, basically. Adult correction and our adult facilities kind of went through this, unfortunately, through some traumatic events a few years back, and realized they had a crisis on their hand as well, and they needed to up the pay for their correctional officers, and they did so. But somehow we got left behind in that effort. The other big point here is this requires no county funds. This is just a county resolution supporting this statewide effort. I'd also like to advise this board that Wake, Cumberland, almost all of our eastern counties have signed similar resolutions. So we're not the first one to do this. My catchment area is Caswell, Person, Granville, Vance, Franklin, Warren, Johnston, and Durham. So I'm working my way through all of those said counties to try to get the same resolution signed and just support. As someone who's been in the criminal justice field for about 28 years now, these folks are the ones that are often kind of left behind, our facility staff. We talk about highway patrol, we talk about other law enforcement folks, all deserve the praise and recognition that they get. But we need people in our facilities that have some of the most tough circumstances to work in. And so I'm here advocating on their behalf, and I would graciously ask that you adopt the resolution before you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. I sit on the JCPC, and I think this is a valid concern. I think it's one that the board should adopt in regards to the resolution. I think that we've experienced our own detention concerns here in our county, and that we've taken some steps to mitigate some of those, some immediate steps, as other counties have also taken steps to mitigate the detention services throughout the state and actually the country. public safety, healthcare. These are skills that are not currently really deemed as by many people in the public as being an occupation people want to go into, and because of that, we're losing people, and we're losing people is driving the cost, and so I think it's wise of us to try to get on top of this and help our youth. So I'm going to read something here to you that's out of the on the back of your page of your documents here. Is resolution supporting compression increases for Division of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, Detention, and Youth Development Center staff. The fourth paragraph down. Whereas over 1/4, 26% of JJDP positions are vacant, 416 out of 1,576, primarily in the areas of community supervision, case management, and direct supervision of juveniles in confinement. More than half, 225 or 54% of the 416 vacancies are DJJDP facilities positions. More than 1/3 of the 157 or 38% of the vacancies are juvenile court services, which provides community supervision and case management. And we don't have folks tracking those juvenile cases. We're going to have young folks fall in the cracks. And when they fall in the cracks, then we could have juveniles then facing or out committing crimes now of much serious offense, and then be entering into the adult realm of our juvenile justice system. So I'd like to know what the board pleasure is on approving this resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this resolution.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. At this time, I'd like to have public comments. Before we begin the public comments, we have 3 speakers. I just want to remind everyone that there's 3 minutes. The clerk will be timing your 3 minutes, and at the end of 3 minutes, she will kindly ask you to stop speaking. My first speaker tonight is Jacob Shapner. Am I correct? Shaper, okay. And if you would, when you make the podium, repeat your name and your address for the record, please.
Yeah, Jacob Shaper out of 606 21st Street in Butner. And anyway, I'm here to talk about something that maybe the vast majority of people aren't even affected by, but it involves a really big burden on the people who are impacted, an extremely small impact on the county. And that is that people who have a hydraulic cylinder on their trailer that go to the compost pile have to pay $38 a ton. Anybody that goes with anything other than a hydraulic cylinder gets in for free. And I don't see the logic there at all. And I thought, well, maybe it's some kind of financial thing, but if they're not going to charge anybody else, why are they singling us out? And I mean, I'm 70 years old, and a lot of other folks are a lot older that have the dump trailers because you can't do that stuff that much anymore. And we're the ones being penalized as well as anyone else that has a hydraulic cylinder. So I started going through, and I thought, it's a little strange, but I got 2 minutes. There's 62,000 people in Granville County, about 30, and I'm saying about 30,000 of those would make up residences, and about 1/3 of those are going to use a compost facility. And out of those compost, out of that 10,000, maybe 2% have hydraulic cylinder trailers, which amounts to 200 people. So 200 people are impacted by this thing. And of those, maybe 25% are lying, and they're really contractors. So I'm thinking, well, all right, so for 50 people, to catch 50 people you got 150 people who are being penalized. And it's such a huge impact on such a small group. I just don't get it. And I don't know what the motive is. It does not seem to be financial because it's only 50 people. And if you're worried about people coming from the 5 neighboring counties of Vance, Franklin, Wake, Durham, and Person, they'd have to drive from the other counties into Oxford because there's 4 Oxford sites out of the 7. So why would you drive up from Wake to Oxford? So I'm thinking, what is the logic of this? If I was a contractor, time is money, and I'm not going to drive up from Wake County just to save $30. I'll go into Wake County or Vance or Person. I for the life of me, can't figure out what the motive is, unless it's some vendetta against some company that somebody thinks is dumping something that doesn't belong there. I just don't get it. And so anyway, my 3 minutes is up, I believe. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, just wanted you to think about that.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Mr. Vernon Morton? And again, if you would, you have 3 minutes. Would repeat your name and your address, please, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners, Happy New Year, and thank you for your time. My name is Vernon Morton. I live at 609 21st Street in Butner, North Carolina. I live across the street from Mr. Shaper. On November 23rd, 2022, I went to the Butner landfill convenience site to dump a few leaves from my dump trailer. I was informed by the scale attendant that because I had a dump trailer, I would be charged a fee of $38 per ton. My leaves weighed 0.04 ton, and I paid a $1.52 to dump them. I was given a paper titled Brush, dated 11/18/22, Oxford and Butner landfill. And that paper stated, free acceptance from your home in county of yard debris transported by single axle and double axle trailers, pickup trucks, cars, and SUVs. All vehicles out of county are to be charged. I agree with that. Anyone on a dump trailer or dump truck will be charged $38 per ton. No discrepancy there. All businesses will be charged $38 per ton regardless of trailer or truck size. I call your attention to the discrimination in this policy statement. All Granville County property owners are charged a line item tax fee of $25 for waste convenience site fee to fund operation of the convenience sites in Granville County. The fact that I own and use a dump trailer for the purpose of reducing wear and tear on this 77-year-old body is costing me twice for the privilege I have already been charged for and paid. The container I use does not change the fact that my yard waste comes from my yard and is not being hauled commercially. I contacted Mr. Jason Falls regarding this discrepancy, and from his tone and comments, he was less than interested in rectifying this matter. He stated that the $25 tax fee just covers the dumping of the collection site containers at the site, and I believe that that is incorrect. He also stated that there would be no change to the $38 per ton charge for dump trailers. I would be glad to present ID, registration, and sign at the scale house an affidavit as to the origin of my limbs, trimmings, clippings, and yard debris. The container I transport them in is not significant, That is simply for my convenience and ease of handling. I would appreciate your attention to rectify this discrepancy as per section 38-74 of the Granville County Code of Ordinances. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. For the last speaker comes, County Manager. I'm sure you'll look into that with Mr. Falls, and we'll provide a response to Mr. Schaefer and Morton.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I have Speaker Sheriff Robert Fountain. Yep, no.
Good evening. I'm Robert Fountain. I live at 115 Saddle Tree Road, Oxford, North Carolina. And I came here for several reasons. One, to thank the county manager, Drew Cummings, and to thank the county attorney, Jim Wren, for working with me during this transition process. To thank the Board of Commissioners for offering their services and these two gentlemen to assist me in what we're trying to undertake. To Lieutenant Newman and to Captain McCall, two of my command staff that meet with me daily. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. We're moving. We're moving. We're moving. Everything that we said that we were going to do, we're starting to do. First week, we've got 10 kilos of cocaine off the streets of Butner, 85. This past week, we had a strategic saturation operation with local law enforcement, Butner, Creedmoor, STEM, Oxford, ALE. We went to work Friday. We amassed, as the numbers are still coming in, we amassed over 66 total charges, 9 felonies, and we had 20 arrests just on Friday. So every part of this community will see the sheriff's office more frequently, and as we grow and as we hire, we'll be more in these communities, making sure that our communities are safe. There was some commentary about while we were on the southern end, all these unmarked cars stopping people. That's what you guys hired me to do. So to the community, everything that you hired me to do, that's what we're going to do. We're moving forward with other plans. We've structured, our staffing pattern has changed for the road deputies. They're now consistently working 2 weeks days, 2 weeks nights before they switch. Routinely, they were working 2 days, and they switched right back to 3 days at night, which not is a healthy thing for them in their mindset or their bodies or their family lives. So we've changed the way we function. The span of control is gonna change. I spoke to Mr. May and Mr. Karen. We're gonna change the span of control in which we operate. We need more boots on the ground. So that's our direction we're going to move in. And I am proud to say my guys are supporting what we're doing, and we should be fully staffed if everything goes planned by July. We've had 17 vacancies when I took over, and we've probably had about 6 or 7 people already in the process to come on board, and we have applications coming in daily. So these guys, the young men of Granville County Sheriff's Office, are committed to serving this community, and that's what we're going to do. And I thank you for your time.
Just a second, Sheriff. Thank you, sir, for coming, since you provided us the opportunity. Me and Commissioner Karen did meet with the sheriff, and we covered a variety of topics. This board will be supportive of the sheriff's department, and it's what we do as Board of Commissioners. It's our responsibility to ensure the public safety as well. We may not all agree how that's done, but ultimately, Mr. Fountain is the sheriff. And so we look forward to a lot of discussions leading up to the retreat in February. For budget discussions, I continue to work with the county manager, who we rely on tremendously, along with the county attorney with the various issues come up. I'd also like to present to you an opportunity to come before this board on a quarterly basis and present us data-driven CompStat reporting, which identifies for us where we are in regards to violent crime, in regards to marginal crime, different classifications of crime. And so the citizens of this county can really understand where's our crime occurring, where it's not occurring, and what steps you're taking to mitigate the crime. And I would really welcome that. We'd like to see that, because I can tell you right now, this board rarely has gotten any information in regards to how many murders there are, how many robberies there are, how many statistical data that drives resources.
Correct.
And resource application. So we welcome you, this board welcomes you, and any other commissioner is more than free to make any comments at this time. And thank you for coming to speak tonight. We appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment also. I do spend, unfortunately, a lot of time on Facebook, and I have seen many notices about what the sheriff is doing, and I am very impressed, because it does tell our community that you are out there and boots are on the ground. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff Fountain, I had something very unfortunate happen in my community. And before the neighbor called me, it made me feel real good to get a call from the sheriff to tell me what happened right up the road from me, about a mile. So appreciate that, and thank you so much, and wish you well in all your work.
We good? Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as sheriff, when you schedule those meetings, you would get the county manager, and just on a quarterly basis, would be most grateful that you could do that. And one would be after the retreat in March. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on now to our next item in the agenda. Interior Alterations, Department of Social Services, Child Support Service Office of 143 Williamsboro Street, Oxford. The purpose of this, and this is going to be presented by Mr. Phillips. And Scott, if you don't mind coming down, and I'll read the purpose and provide some background, and then you can take it from there. Scott, is that okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
So the request is to consider awarding a lump sum construction contract for the necessary interior improvements needed for relocation of Granville County DSS Child Support Service offices. The background is the existing space of the former sheriff's office located at 143 Williamsboro Street, most people realize it's across from the courthouse, had been allocated for the Granville County's Department of Social Services Child Support Service offices. The relocation has been planned and needed to accommodate ADA accessible and to vacate 122 Williamsboro Street, which is scheduled for demolition within the next 5 years. To facilitate this move and determine the needed functional improvements of the space, Stephen Baxter, architect, was retained to meet the DSS staff and procedure and produce the construction documents needed for contractor pricing. The work included within construction documents and so forth. And then there were three sealed bids, and the lowest bid being $159,667, and that being Vance Construction Company, for a fee not to exceed the $159,667. The funding for this is in the fiscal year 2022 budget. Can facilitate this request. Funding level requested for this project is $200,000. The recommendation is, after review of bids and meeting with the lower bidder, the Development Services Director is satisfied that the received bid is responsive and recommends awarding a lump sum construction to Vance Construction Company, the lowest bid, for a fee not to exceed $159,667. Do you have any other further comments, Mr. Phillips, you'd like to add to the board?
No, sir. This is a fairly straightforward renovation project. Again, we work with DSS staff to accommodate their functional needs and planning the space. As you stated, it's primarily, there's some minor alterations, but for the most part, it's new flooring, walls, and ceiling finishes, as well as additional electrical infrastructure.
I just was reminded that I actually went through your presentation.
That's fine.
So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you.
So folks get to hear it twice. So please accept my apologies.
No problem, no problem. You did a great job.
Thank you. That being said, and thank you, Commissioner Karen, are you good with this? You feel comfortable with the project as it were?
Yes, sir. I really am.
And what is the, I didn't look on here, is there any completion time frame on this?
No, we're gonna probably work on that, once the award for the contract's been recommended. With the delivery chain problems we have now, I think right now, door and door hardware is gonna be the lead item. I believe right now, we're looking at starting the 1st of February, based on the contract work. And I would think probably 60 to 90 days. 90 days, probably more likely.
Thank you, Scott. Based on the recommendation provided by the chair, unfortunately, instead of the, Mr. Phillips of Development Services, do we have a motion to, accept?
I make that motion yesterday.
Okay, do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I just say to Mr. Phillips, I don't know if he's leaving, great work over there at the, our community center. Thank you so much for all that work and your leadership.
We're going to move on to a matter that the previous chair provided to me as the vice chair of doing, and I actually enjoy doing it because it makes me keep up with state legislation and things of that nature. And so a topic that's of really big concern in our state is school capital funding. And a lot of times, if you can read the paper, you can see our schools are constantly talking about the need for capital funding. And I can tell you that counties of our size, tier 2 counties, we do not have the amount of funding necessary within our tax base to fund the level of capital projects that are needed. And so I'll read to you the Landro case, which is a case that's between the state and our educators and our actually the General Assembly, if you will. And it said the Landro case guarantees children in North Carolina a constitutional right to a sound basic education. In November 2022, the North Carolina Supreme Court brought some resolution to the 25-year-old court case by upholding a lower court decision ordering state officials to transfer funds in compliance with comprehensive remedial plan intended to ensure the state's education system is adequately funded, in addition to being an important decision in the long-running case on child's constitutional right to a sound and basic education. The court's holding is a landmark decision, which basically means now it's likely to go back again to a higher court, and it's not over with, but at least the court is pushing for our legislature to move more funding into that arena, which is needed in my opinion. And from talking to other commissioners, they understand that it's very difficult for a county our size to come up with millions and millions of dollars. And there appears to be revenue available based upon this decision. And then also, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners had a legislative meeting, and we had some members attend, and their top priority goals for the year were funding and other efforts to expand digital infrastructure, broadband, and seek revenue sources to address statewide public school and community college capital needs. So the capital needs of our schools is really prevalent, and it's on the minds and everyday actions taken by local governments to find a way to get more capital funding. You cannot raise that type of revenue through the Valorum tax or the tax base in which we have. Next item. There's going to be appointments of members to the boards and committees and liaison assignment. Each commissioner is assigned to a committee, to boards and liaisons to committees and boards. And so I have asked, and there's a list of them in our agenda where every commissioner is assigned. I'm not going to read them all, commissioners. Hopefully you've reviewed them and see the ones you're assigned to. And we're going to take a vote in a minute just to acknowledge that you're accepting those boards and assignments. But what I'd like to do before we do that is that I'd like to ask any commissioner that would like to speak up to speak of a board that they enjoy working on, and then and mention the fact that it's very difficult to get citizen participation, and we want it, and we're seeking it. And there's a means in which you can go to the county website and actually sign up to become part of these committees. And it's very difficult when we have vacancies in these committees to fill them. And so we're seeking bodies all the time. So Ms. Hinman, if you would just kind of start with anyone you have, and then I'll follow by Commissioner Cozart and any other commissioner would like to follow.
Sure. I have to push the button, unlike him. So I'm on animal control, which I enjoy. It's nice to know that our animals who are homeless have a place to go, and that we have people that work with them that care so much about these animals and that are willing to give up almost anything to help them, or take as many home as she can. Yes, that was you I was talking about. I'm also on DSS, Department of Social Services. That one can, I enjoy it, but it can be very challenging because as of anybody that has employees are hard to come by, and we are losing them just as rapidly as anybody else is everywhere. Tonight, Vicki Hammy would have been retiring. How do you ask somebody to do more than 30 years? You can't. So we have to be able to find people that are willing to do these things. And DSS it's sometimes very intriguing, I'll say it that way. My other one is the library board. I worked at the library before they made me quit when I came here. I enjoy the library. That's something I've done since high school. And knowing what we're trying to do at the different libraries, I'm very proud that we have the libraries we have, the one out in Berea. I mean, thank you, Scott, for everything you're doing out there with that little bitty library and getting it to be as big as it can possibly be. So the library board is one of those things. But there are many, many other places that I'm on, Park and Rec, and other things like that. And my favorite, everybody hears that head nodding, Franklin Vance Warren Opportunity. That is a very challenging committee. So there I will leave on everything on that one, but that one's my challenge. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few comments in reference to a few of my committees. I really enjoy serving on the hospital board. It's a pretty challenging work, but I think the thing that inspires me to continue to be excited about going to the meetings, I'm always running into people who are able to go there and they talk about how the accessibility is so important to them because getting to Durham or Raleigh would be a challenge. And so I'm so proud that we have this service right here in Oxford, that our people can attend, get the services met, even the specialty areas that we have. And I want to commend all of my colleagues. I have a chance to serve on the Human Relations Commission. That is an awesome group. We have to have sometimes rather sensitive conversations, and because of the people you appointed, we're able to have those conversations, and I think our county is much better off because of it. And of course, school administration liaison, Chairman May and I enjoy that. It's for our kids, and that's kind of where, I like spending a lot of time just talking about how we're going to do more to help our kids in our school system. So I really appreciate all of my appointments and look forward to continue to serve. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other commissioner?
I'd just like to say that I've been on the South Carolina Water and Sewer Authority since I was elected to town council in Butner. And I've been there for 5 years, and it's been great to see how that organization has grown over the years. We started out underfunded and overloaded with debt. We're still pretty much overloaded with debt, but we're not underfunded as we were. We've been very fortunate to get an influx of cash through the state, the grant of $35 million for a project we're working on. There's many more projects to come, so that we're going to be constantly looking for funding over the next several years. I also serve on the Health System Board of Trustees, and really enjoy that, and it's helped me a lot to learn about the hospital and the ambulance service and everything that goes on at the clinics and such. I'm on the Opioid Advisory Committee, and it's been great to see that grow, and we've got some funding we're working on, and I'd like to thank Scott for his work on there, as well as all the commissioners that are on that along with me. Also, the Soil and Water Board, that has to be my favorite, because I deal with farmers. I grew up on a farm. I never was a farmer because my heart wasn't in it, but I get to work with people whose heart is in that. And you know their heart's in it when the chair conducts a meeting by his cell phone from the cab of his combine, because you got weather coming in and he had to get the crops in, and he didn't have time for the meeting, but he was dedicated to the committee enough that he did everything he could to make the meeting go forward. And it was just, I just really enjoy working with those guys. And also the water and sewer matters, I'm interested in that. I worked in water and sewer at the city of Durham. My work with Seguasa, and now with the county at water and sewer matters, I really enjoy getting into that. And thank you for these appointments, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I serve on the district health department, health board. I found out that, believe it or not, how really, really important our district health department during the COVID time. Our health department worked diligent. I mean, some of the nurses and stuff over there work, they didn't take time off working and helping out, along with other community diseases. They still had to perform their duties and that during that time. But our health department is there for us, and a lot of us just don't take the opportunity to know what to go out and take that opportunity. Also, I work with COTS. You see all these COT buses. I just thought it'd be just, before I got on the board, just buses just running up and down the street. But you know what? Those COT buses, we have anywhere from 700 to 900 calls a day. But we can't run but 775 a day, because that's all the capacity we have. We have people going, COT buses running all the way to Durham, Chapel Hill,
to the taking people to the hospital, taking people to dialysis, taking people to jobs. We have a lady that is living in Oxford, works because she don't have driving license. Works in STEM post office. Cox takes her every day to work. That's some of the things that Cox do. You see service like that senior centers, senior peoples. We got three other ladies up in the north end of the county. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they gonna get that cart bus and come to the senior centers in Oxford to enjoy themselves, and they take them back home. That's what COTS is all about. COTS, Sister Miss Donica, Director of Social Service, her last day was the 31st. We'd like to thank her for serving on that board. That board consists of 4 commissioners, 1 from Franklin, Vance, Warren, and Granville, and 3 directors from Social Service serves on that board. So now, Granville, since Donica has resigned off the board, we have to find her replacement. And so we're gonna ask the board to search and look for a person to replace. She did a wonderful job while she was on the board. And thank you. Also, COG. I couldn't figure out what COG, 29 years ago, I couldn't figure out what COG was all about until I had the opportunity to go to a COG meeting and find out that COG touches 5 counties: Pearson, Vance, Warren, Franklin, and Granville. They do more for behind the scenes than a little. They do more works like running water and helping with water and sewer, helping with senior peoples that weatherize their houses, the senior center in Pearson County. They do a lot of things to help it. The boards I've been sitting on for the last several years is boards that help someone. I believe in helping someone. I believe in helping. You can't live in this world by yourself. We have to help someone else along the way. And these boards that Granville County have representation on helps a lot of people, not only here in Granville County, but 4 and 5 counties around us. And I'd just like to say thank you for allowing me to serve on these boards.
Mr. Chairman, I have my first meeting tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock.
I'm sure we arranged it that way.
Lucky you.
So, as I understood the assignment, though I don't discount the 10 boards that I serve on, the one that I believe touches me the most is our Extension Leadership Advisory Council. Most people know the 4-H program. That's just one of many services that our Cooperative Extension provides. In the 4-H youth development, there's 9 clubs here in Granville County. That means there's 9 parent volunteers Cooperative Extension, this year's motto is, "You're essential." If anybody knows what that is, it's a puzzle piece. Volunteerism is the key to just about everything county government does, whether it's our volunteer fire departments that we help fund, or our volunteers that work in our with our senior services, the volunteers that work with our juvenile folks in the crime prevention councils, the volunteers that serve as library board of trustees. I think that's the point what Commissioner May was asking, is that all these boards and commissions that you've heard about these people serving on, with the exception of some very few, such as the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, are volunteer-based boards. And we need district representatives from our areas to serve on those boards. But not only does Cooperative Extension have the 4-H development, point of personal pride, last year they did 21 incubators in the second grade classes in Granville County schools. And I got back like 55 chicks out of the dealio because I gave them the eggs to begin with. So from 4-H, you've got Family Consumer Sciences, where they're helping people with delicious nutrition and taking care of themselves. Your commercial and consumer horticultural classes, which is your Master Gardeners programs, Pawpaw Research Station. They're working a credentialing program with our Division of Prisons at the Butner Federal Complex. You've got your livestock agent and our voluntary agricultural districts. 1,870 acres in Granville County have been enrolled to protect and preserve that land. They also run the Coghlan's Clinic, which is a respiratory disease that horses can get and have to have equine infectious anemia is what it is, but it's got to be tested for, and we run that through Cooperative Extension. Your fields crops agent with the production of tobacco, peppers, soybeans, and other high dollar crops in this area. Your youth programs, and I think that the sheriff touched on this earlier, and we also talked about juvenile justice with our very first speaker. That's one of the divisions of the Cooperative Extension and the Juvenile Teen Court Program, the Juvenile Community Services. Through Cooperative Extension, 945 hours of community service was accomplished in that juvenile program, saving the county approximately $28,000 worth of additional costs that would have been incurred through courts had the program not been in place. So the REACH after school program is another thing that Cooperative Extension is actively involved with. And that provides over 480 hours of out-of-school enrichment programming and it backfills their academic tutoring. So a plethora of things that Cooperative Extension does here in the county. Unwrapping the Gift and He Matters, 2 other young mentoring programs to try and get our youth on the right track. Got a lot of single parent and just single parent households, no parent in some cases. And these children are adrift in our society, and this is just one of the volunteer opportunities you can get involved with here in Granville County. It won't take you but 3 seconds to look on the county's webpage and find volunteer opportunities. We've even got programming where you can get involved and it'll pair you up with what's available, whether it be with animal control, our youth, our seniors, building parks and greenways. There's something for everybody.
So what a lot of people don't realize is that when the commissioner's not in the board meetings, most commissioners have anywhere from 8 to 12 boards or committees they sit on, and they're attending meetings on a frequent basis with each of those, and from each of those are various different projects. This is where the public can get very involved in county government and can play a role in county government. And so you can go to your our website under county government, and you can find a County of Granville Board of Commission application for one of those committees if you'd like to serve. And Ms. Weary also put out a list of committees in which are available for public. And so And then those Ms. Weary is notified when those are completed, and then she notifies commissioners. So when we have a vacancy come up, we actually go look at that and say, okay, let's start, define the replacement to go into committee. And that was the purpose of letting the commissioner speak tonight, so that one is to educate the public of these opportunities, but two is to gain support of the public and working on these committees so that you can be part of the process and part of the solutions, rather than feeling as if you're not engaged. It's an opportunity to become engaged, and we welcome that. Board, based on the items in which the committees that are listed under your name, I'm going to ask the committee to make a motion to accept your committees and assignments and your liaisons, and I need a motion to accept that and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, board members. Those are your assignment for the year, and I look forward to working with each of you on each of those committees and chairs. We're next going to go into some board appointments. Am I correct? Ms. Weary, Granville Health is the next one up. Okay. Granville Health System Board of Trustees. The purpose of the Granville Health Board of Trustees shall be determine hospital policies.
Mr. Chairman, before you start that, I just want to know what you've done to make all these people stay. I'm so impressed. I have not seen this many people at this point in our meeting in a very, very long time. So I just wanted to tell you all, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you're here, but I'm sure it's nothing I've done. Maybe it's likely something I haven't done. So we'll move forward. But thank you, Ms. Hedman. The purpose of the Granville Health System Board of Trustees shall be determine hospital policies with relation to community needs, to see that proper professional standards are maintained, to coordinate professional interests of the hospital with administrative, financial, and community needs, to direct the chief executive officer of the hospital in carrying out the policies to provide adequate financing and control expenditures. The terms of David T. Smith, District 2, and Don, can you pronounce that for me, Commissioner Cozart? Omakunde expired in December. From District 2, do we have any replacements for Mr. Smith?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate David Smith for another term. For the
Okay.
hospital board, please.
I'm going to vote on these together, if it's okay with the board. County attorneys, I'm sure that's fine. And Ms. Okunde?
Yes, I move for Ms. Dawn Omakunde's reappointment as well, Mr. Chairman.
So what we're doing is we're actually keeping both of those in concert. And what capacity is Mr. Smith serving in that board now?
He's the chair.
So
Yes,
so it's continuity. Continuity. Okay. So is there a motion that we accept these appointees?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And these appointees shall be notified by the clerk. The next is the Granville County Citizens Advisory Environmental Affairs. Commissioner Kieran, because I have someone on this to nominate, which I am going to nominate Mr. Holmes to continue, I'd ask that you take this over.
Certainly. So the terms of Mr. Neil Grisham, District 1, Blaine Holmes, District 5, and Brian Curran, ex officio Soil and Water, expire. And we've heard from Mr. Chairman, District 5, to reappoint Blaine Holmes, District 1.
I'll move to reappoint Neil.
Is there a second to both of those motions?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Kieran, would you please take on the next as well, because I have another appointee.
Sure, then,
I have a question. Do we need to vote on Byron Kern?
nobody nominated him. I apologize for that.
If no one's nominated, I move we nominate Byron Kern.
Second.
Been properly motioned and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Commissioner. The next board is the Library Board of Trustees. Lynn Allred, District 1.
I'm nominating Ann Payne for District. Yep.
District 1. Zeke.
Oh.
Please leave, Lynn.
We have Lynn Horton, right?
Allred.
Alden.
Oh, okay. Move to reappoint.
Okay, we've got District 5.
I'll reappoint Miss Ann Payne, please.
Okay, and Anthea Robinson has resigned from District 6, and I'm going to be holding that. Should have had somebody else take it. So we've got it motioned and properly second for District 1, Ms. Allred, and District 5, Ann Payne. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Now move to the Orange Street Community Center Board of Trustees, and I would.
Mr. Chairman, let me explain that one. When we were having such a difficulty filling all those seats, we actually filled the seat that Miss Evans is in, and so she is not needed at this time.
Okay. Do we have any appointees to make on this list other than the ones who are serving? I don't think so. So, okay. So for this, we're not going to make any appointment for Miss Evans, and we'll move on from this without any votes or anything going forward. Okay. The next is the Senior Services Advisory Committee, and the term of Betsy Bailey, District 1, Joanne Duchesne, was appointed by you, Sue, Ms. Hinman, and then Harriet Morton in District 4, Vicky Smoke, District 7, they all expire. And so they're all eligible for reappointment. So I'll let, for District 1, Betsy Bailey.
Move to reappoint.
District 3.
I move to reappoint Joanne Duchesne.
District 4.
Yes, I'd like to reappoint Harriet Morton.
Mr. Gooch.
Would like to reappoint Vicky Smoke.
Do I have a motion that all subjects or all persons are to be reappointed?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. County Manager, at your point, do you have anything to report to the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of appreciations. While I was traveling over the holidays, in part to attend and help with my mother's funeral, I wanted to acknowledge Assistant County Manager Karina Weichel for holding down the fort. It turned out to be a slightly more eventful week than any of us had planned on, with that cold snap and the power outages and so on. And on that note, would also like to offer my thanks to the sheriff and to emergency management staff, particularly Jason Revis, for really working that problem and making sure that our response was up to snuff. Every emergency is a little bit different and requires the county and local communities to be preparing a little bit differently, but appreciate them staying on their toes and helping us serve our community. And during that cold snap, as many of you know, we also had some burst pipes at the Granville-Vance Public Health Department that caused quite a lot of damage, and had to pull a number of our staff into immediate action, including Gary Bowen, Matt Eller, and Scott Phillips, who's still here doing a lot of work right around the Christmas holiday, making sure that our buildings and our people were taken care of. So just wanted to offer those appreciations.
Thank you, County Manager. County Attorney, do you have a report?
I have one matter for attorney-client privilege in executive session.
Okay. If I would, I'm going to go now to our commissioners for comments, and I will start with Commissioner Jay.
Just like to say to the county manager, thank, on behalf of the health department, I'd like to say thank you. for the staff for work coming in and working and helping make everything as easy as possible or that for the municipal health department. We can please let staff know that we appreciate the service. And I also just like to say that we have to remember I said we have to appoint somebody from human service to serve on the clock board. We have down to 3 members because everybody done resign off the board. Tonight was I was in the meeting. Tonight we had got down to 3 members and all our guests, social service directors have left us. So each county is we ask them to, as quick as possible, to reappoint somebody to take their place. Yours truly got nominated tonight for being chairman of COTS for right now. So please help me, pray with me, pray for me, that we can get everything put out of the way. And the transaction so we can get one. So please, it don't have to be we have to have a commissioner from each county to serve on that board. The person that where our bylaw said it has to be a person that deals with human service, which is like social service, senior service that deals with costs. So somebody please think of somebody, a representative. You don't have to be the director. They can be their appointee to serve. So please.
Well, I'm just glad we don't need a county commissioner.
So please, thank you for someone. And I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Believe it or not, it's the first Christmas that I have been sick ever since the day after Christmas up until 2 days ago. My whole family. But you know what? God is good. He blessed us. And keep on blessing me.
Yes, he is, and I'm glad you stayed away from us.
And God can tell to everyone have a happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Wooliford.
I'm glad to have our county manager back safe. And again, I hope everyone here has a good New Year.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Henman.
Well, I just am so thankful that we didn't have more problems with this weather, that we had that snap and now we have summer. And it looks like we might be going back into winter sometime, but I like, this new change in seasons. But thank you, everybody, for everything you've done as far as staff, Sheriff's Department, DSS. I know there was a lot under that. And just everybody that pulled and helped out get through this emergency, that wasn't just us, but you guys did a fantastic job. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Commissioner Cozart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to say I did find out over the weekend that our retired Judge Finch lost his wife over the holiday. In fact, I didn't know it until a couple of days ago, but just wanted to say condolences as well as to our county manager. Also, we do look forward again this year on Dr. King's holiday to have the MLK breakfast. I think we've read. We look forward to the student essays at that time, and we're thankful to the Oxford Baptist Church for allowing us to have that at their church this year. Also, just like to say to everyone, Happy New Year. Wish you all the best as we go through 2023.
Commissioner Kozar, were you able to talk to anybody on the Cree Board Committee to try to deconflict with that? I'd had a conversation today that, you know, we need to be deconflicting on
Sure.
on dates.
And I'll keep working on that, particularly for years to come. I think we need to have it so we don't have those kind of conflicts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Karen.
I'll be brief. Just Happy New Year to everyone. I'm glad we survived 22. It's definitely a roller coaster, but God is good, and we made it through on the backside. Sheriff, appreciate you coming to our meeting tonight. Glad to see you. I'm hopeful and looking for great things to come, and I appreciate your closing out last year with a meeting with Commissioner May, and I really seen good things already. So looking forward to seeing more.
Commissioner Jimmy Gooch.
Yes, just want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and very thankful to be part of this. Want to once again welcome Rob as a county commissioner. Look forward to working with you. Sheriff Fountain, welcome you. You've done some good work to start with. You're getting off to a running start, and we appreciate that, and thank you. And thank you for being with us tonight. We look forward to seeing a lot of you at these meetings, hopefully. Even if you don't speak, even if you just come by and wave and say hello, that's great too. So thank you. And thank you everyone for attending tonight. And we appreciate all the public comments, and you know, I'm grateful to be here and grateful to see another year ring in. Thank you.
And I'll close out the comments for the commissioners. Many people do not realize that one of our final board meetings prior, I think it was November 7th or November 8th, we took action to provide appropriate financial bonuses, if you will, for both sheriff employees, detention officers, which we'd already done, and with county employees, to try to mitigate some of the issues that we're having with retention of our law enforcement and our detention officers. In doing so, our county manager, we want to commend him for finding the available funding within our existing budget based upon where we had employees or loss of employees where that revenue actually was attainable through that. So, which means that we bring challenges next year as we meet the goals of trying to maintain. This board has a lot of responsibility going into the next year. I challenge this board to get with the county manager between now and February on some key items. Some key items such as EMS, funding for law enforcement, how we're going to mitigate that, and how we're going to work through that in this coming year. Our fire commission is about to make some recommendations to us to come before the board as well. And so any ideas that you have that might help us in regards to making the retreat a very informative and a very robust work session with the county manager to help identify those real needs we have, and as him and Mr. McNally try to work through the funding and the funding concerns that we may have coming into this next year. I'm thankful that we have had a good year. I'm thankful for God's blessings upon Commissioner Karen's wife after a very serious surgery last year, life-saving surgery. I'm thankful for all the board members' health and their families. And we're blessed that we all had, many of us shared losses last year, but God has a way of cultivating a newness in each of us after a loss. And it's because of that blessed faith and hope that we have, at least I do. I wanted, for the purpose of the media, before I get on to our final movement here, is to make something clear to you. The Lindro decision was really brought forth by I think about 5 low wealth counties. And that's important to understand. The low wealth counties at the time in 1994 were Cumberland, Halifax, Hoke, Robertson, and Vance County, and the suit continued in 2004 by Hope County. I'm just making sure you understand it because this is a very important issue to me as a commissioner who works with the schools on funding. We get beat up a lot, the board does, about school funding. And about 32 to 35% of our funding goes to education in the county. So we're extended. I wanted to be making a public statement here. We're extended on that funding. We do the very best we can with that. So we need help. Tier 2 counties, which is not all the way a low wealth county, but not a rich county. We don't have that funding. We don't have the capital to go out and get a major bond or anything like that to place on top of the already burden of a valorum tax and a fire tax. That being said, that's why I make much of these legal decisions, because that legislation and that decision finally that will be made will make a determination on how much money will or will not come back to our local schools, which means takes the burden off us. When we only have 17% of your lottery, your education lottery is only funded with 17%. That's how much of your lottery. It's not 100%, it's 70%. So we have some work to do, but that's our goal. And each of us at times meet with our legislators and meet with others to meet with them in our concerns. And so that is a big issue for this commissioner. As you look at the capital and you look at our school infrastructure, we need some help. So that being said, I'll move to the next item. And thank you for letting me that moment to clarify why I wanted to speak about that. And I thank the board. Are there any other matters to be discussed before I go to my next item? We're going to move to closed session as allowed by GS 143-318.11A4 economic development. We'll discuss matters relating to location, expansion of industry and other businesses in the area served by a public body. And then we're also going to move to a closed session allowed by GS 143-318.11 to discuss a personnel matter. If this board doesn't object, I'd like the motion that we adjourn.
I'll make that motion if we can put a bio break in there.
Second motion.
GMS attorney-client.
Go ahead, would you please? Go ahead and state it.
Previously stated, request closed session for attorney-client privilege.
Okay, very well. So at this point, I'd make a motion to
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session with the bio break in between.
yeah, and we'll meet back in 15 minutes. Thank you. Oh, well, let's vote on.
Second motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being here tonight. Yeah, no, you're okay. You're okay. Yeah, you gotta get a news guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was gonna stand right outside.
so in fairness to him, I'm gonna wait till he gets vote on the sheriff's salary. Are we good with that?
We are good with that.
Okay.
Same for everybody.
So per our discussion with the county manager, I need and council, I need a motion that we are going to establish the sheriff's salary at $104,260, and that the county manager and or the attorney or both or singular will be discussing this with the sheriff at most appropriate time, and that his fund and his salary would be retroactive to the date of the election or his swearing in. I need a motion on that, or someone to bring up the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve the recommendation that you just, as you just mentioned, establishing the salary of our sheriff, and also that it be retroactive.
And do I have a second? Second. Do I have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The vote is approved. The next item, excuse me, board, The next item is proceeding,
Just a second.
Mr. Chair, I think we need to make it public how this salary was arrived at, the formula used, and that also make it known that if this would be the same salary that Noblin or Hardy would have been making should they have run for sheriff and been elected. This is not based on experience. This is based purely on a formula of years in service and the previous salary.
and policy.
And policy is strictly a policy issue.
I think the way to put it, if I could make a friendly amendment to your language, would just be that the county applied their personnel policy to the question of the salary of the newly elected sheriff, and this is the number that has resulted from that calculation.
So I think what we can do is just make a request of the county attorney that he will advise the sheriff of all the matters discussed and how he came about that analysis, and what the repercussions would have been had others been had appointed persons taken over as elected officials.
Did you mean county manager, sir?
Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry about that. Sorry, Jim, that's why he's looking at me. Okay, yes. Is that good, Mr. Gooch?
We're just basically, we're adhering to the adopted policy, adopted personnel policies guidance for setting the salary of the elected sheriff.
So let's do this. Let's amend the original motion to add Mr. Gooch's language to make sure that's part of the motion. And then can I have a motion to vote on that again? Mr. Cozart amends, and do I have a second? Mr. Gooch, do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It approves as amended. The next item is proceeding with the water and sewer extension of Triangle North, and I will ask the county manager to make a brief statement as to what he's requesting in regards to funding, and that the funding is coming from fund balance. County manager.
So, county commissioners were asked whether they would be in approval for investing $5.1 million in undesignated fund balance from the county towards water and sewer line extensions into the Triangle North Industrial Park, as well as $300,000 for clearing and grading of a concept site within the park.
Do I have a motion that we approve the $5.1 million to be set forth for the project?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. That concludes our business for the night. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you all. Thank you, county manager. Thank you, attorney.